Hey everyone, welcome to the 5th season of Travel Tales, a podcast by Afar. I'm Aislyn, and yes, I host the show. Each week on the podcast, we hear stories of life-changing travel from poets, writers, entrepreneurs, authors, and so many more. And this season, we'll be sharing short Q&As inspired by each episode that you can only find here. This is Travel Tales. Charlie, welcome to Travel Tales.
Thanks.
So your travel tale is about how and why you founded Everywhere is Queer. Could you just describe briefly what that is, or not so briefly?
Everywhere is Queer is a free app on iOS and Android that is centered around a worldwide map of 14,000 plus queer-owned businesses, and recently launched a job board in there for ally and queer-owned businesses to post jobs in front of our over 125,000 app users, which we just launched 5 months ago. So it's very new.
Congratulations. And
Thank you.
like an important tool. Like that's something that I wish that I had had at different points of my travels. So
Same.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Has the reaction been just overwhelmingly positive?
It really has. You know, I've had thousands and thousands and thousands of people just email or message me and say, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to exist as my most authentic self locally or when I'm traveling. And, you know, that was my entire goal of creating this resource.
Well, in the years kind of leading up to you founding this business, this map, you crossed the United States several times for work. So what are some of your favorite places that you discovered, and where would you recommend that travelers go that maybe they wouldn't think of at first?
Yeah. You ever heard of New York City?
Oh.
I did fall in love with New York, though, in my travels because I had never been. But small towns like Boone, North Carolina, I had such a blast in North Carolina in general, even time in the Triangle. Asheville is just beautiful. And then, moving through the Midwest I'm from Wisconsin originally, but I still hadn't been to too many spaces. But I really enjoyed, even Lincoln, Nebraska. I had a blast meeting the queer community there. Boise, Idaho surprised me with a lot of amazing queer community and amazing places of like really amazing food. I mean, I could go on and on about Portland, Maine was just absolutely gorgeous.
Do you feel like you kind of got a bigger sense of the country as a whole by doing that kind of crossing, like where we're at this moment in time, and I don't know what it means to live in America?
Yeah, I feel as though it's so many times in my day-to-day conversation, people are like talking about our politics or something, and I'm like, I've been to 47 of our 50 states. I've seen what it's like outside the metropolitan spaces in almost all 50 states. It's very similar as my takeaway outside any city in all 50 states or all 47 that I've been to. But yeah, I mean, I do feel like I have experienced a lot of our country in that way.
It seems so comforting in the sense that we're not quite as divided as perhaps the media might make it seem. It feels at times like it's almost soothing.
I totally agree.
Well, and it does feel like an important time in our country's history for queer people to know that they can find safe spaces wherever they are. So I asked you this earlier, but how have people responded to the platform in that way? And what are some of the stories that you've heard?
Again, I've just had so many people reaching out and saying thank you, but it's two avenues here. The businesses. I've had a hair salon in rural Texas reach out and say, hey, I've received 15 new clients in 1 month of being on your platform. You've changed my life. My business is succeeding now. But then on the flip end, I've had the people sitting in a hair salon seat and saying, wow, I just got the most gender affirming haircut that I could have ever received thanks to you connecting me with a safe space to go. So it's just that experience of feeling like your most authentic self over and over and over again is what people are sharing with me.
And you've had this outpouring of support so much so that you were able to kind of transition to making this your full-time job. What do you hope for going forward? Like, where do you want to take this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I'm kind of just living week by week here. Solo entrepreneur life, a lot happening in different waves. But I'm not trying to make this a massive organization. I would love to maybe hire a few queer people in my future and help support their lives by working at Everywhere is Queer. But for right now, it's just me and 3 contracted people, 5 to 10 hours a week, each of them. And I'm enjoying not having to work at a big company. I come from corporate America, so I'm just trying to enjoy the pace of this business, even though it's crazy being a solo entrepreneur. I make it sound like it's slow and really nice when actually it's a lot of work. But there's pros and cons to, being your own boss and stuff like that. So
absolutely. Freedom and flexibility, but also wow, freedom and flexibility.
Yeah. But for the business, we do have, a whole list of ideas. Our job board was one of the first to come into the app since launch 5 months ago. And so, but we have a whole list of ideas of what we want to build into the platform. My developer works 5 hours a week for me. So I only can do so much,
Well, right now it seems like just kind of getting the word out and bringing people in and building access.
Yes. Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the businesses that you have been to in your travel tale, but I'm sure there's so many that you could not include. Do you have any kind of favorites that you would?
So many. I just ate a sandwich at a sandwich shop here in Portland called Sandwich. Chef Mel. I actually came to Portland 2.5 years ago when I first launched my platform, posted my logo on Instagram, and had found Sandwich. They were one of the first businesses on our platform. But it's so cool that I've become such a close friend with Chef Mel at Sandwich now. One of my closest friends in life right now is someone I met through my platform, a queer real estate agent here in Portland, Oregon.
Wild.
But People's Inclusive Welding in Portland, Maine, they host welding classes by queer and trans people for queer and trans people. Queer Remodels PDX here in Portland as a group of queer folks in the trades, ready to help repair anything in your home, but bringing a spark of queer joy when they do it,
Yeah.
Which just isn't everyone's experience when working with someone in the trades.
Well, do you continue to travel for the business? And if so, and just in general, where are you traveling next?
I'm off to San Diego next and then New York City. Those aren't necessarily specifically for work, but I find that now my life is integrated with my job so deeply. So, yeah. I'm always able to, visit queer-owned businesses and spaces because I haven't traveled too much since I've launched this platform. I've been able to go back home to Wisconsin and partner with the Tourism Board of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and highlight 7 queer-owned businesses in Milwaukee that I didn't know of when I lived in the area.
Yeah. That's cool to hear that tourism boards are wanting to kind of get in and partner with you too. Yeah. Is that something that you want to try to do more of going forward?
Absolutely. I've partnered with Visit Bend, Oregon, Visit Tucson, Arizona, and Visit Milwaukee. And I have so much room in my calendar. I would love to go visit more spaces and highlight queer-owned businesses in that area and show that that area can be inclusive to queer and trans people.
Absolutely. Well, I would like to close with maybe tips for queer travelers who are navigating spaces that don't often feel as open and friendly. Like I know there's been times where, even I grew up in Washington, in Seattle, and even leaving the kind of bubble of Seattle, sometimes there would be places where I'm like, I don't feel entirely comfortable with my partner, like going into a bar to use the bathroom by herself,
Yeah. We have representation, so we have organizations in all 50 states, but we are a global resource. What I always urge people is sometimes there aren't that many queer-owned businesses or what you're looking for in the area, but if there is one, reach out to that business and ask. Ask queer people coming into your city, in your area, where would you recommend we go out to eat, go, grab drinks or do whatever you want to do? Where should we go for a hike? I mean, I always urge people to connect with these businesses. And I had that experience in rural Canada. There was one tattoo artist on our platform in this tiny, tiny little town. I was shocked that there was a pin in our area. But I reached out and said, where should we go? And they gave me a list of ideas. And that's where I went. And it was great.
Amazing. Oh, wow. That's so cool. Okay. I love
Yeah.
that. That's a really good tip because, they probably have resources in excess that you would
Totally.
think of. Yeah.
And maybe I'll say, hey, I don't know anything, but, at least we tried.
Or come have dinner with me.
Yeah, seriously. And then you become friends,
Exactly. Yeah.
That's my
I love
goal.
that
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it can actually be that community building resource.
Yeah.
Too. Was there anything else that you would like to add about what you do or kind of who you are?
I mean, our app is free on iOS and Android. You can access everything from everywhereisqueer.com. If you are a queer-owned business, you'll apply via the profile tab of our app. If you know of a queer-owned business, let them know about our resource. We want the owners to apply themselves. You can tag them in our social media comments or just tell them to apply directly.
Well, thank you so much, Charlie. It's been really a treat to chat with you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, that was our show. I'll include a link to the full episode below, and please don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out.